Here's a question. Have you ever been told that you aren't skilled enough or that you do not possess enough skills? Or when you are talking about footballers, can a player have just one dominant skill and not much else and still become one of the best players in the world? Based on looking at some of today's top players and their diverse skill sets, you might say no. Top players like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Vinicius Jr. or Kylian Mbappe, they are all great scorers, passers and dribblers. They do everything well at a world-class level. But I want to introduce you to a guy who had really just one dominant skill, but maximized its use in such a way that he was one of the best players and one of the deadliest strikers during his time. If you started following football in the last 20 years, you probably will not even know who he is. But you should. He was living proof that the only thing that matters in a striker is his ability to score and his decisiveness. If you are able to find the back of the net and do so consistently, managers will not care how you do it. You will continue to find playing time and the team will continue to count on you. This player did not dribble, rarely shot with his feet, and most of his goals were headers. He could also hold the ball with his back to the opponent's goal. His skill set compared to the strikers of today or even those from back in his days are limited, but this striker made the most of his one skill and used it to the absolute maximum. He was indeed one of the best strikers in Italy's Serie A in the 1990s, was the league's leading scorer for one season and left his mark for both club and country. He is the former German international Oliver Bierhoff. But before we get into that, can you do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button below and leave a comment as well? We love hearing from you and reading the comments to brainstorm ideas for possible future videos. Thank you. Players like Bierhoff are almost near extinction, and even somewhat similar strikers in today's football sometimes do not get enough credit or are criticized unfairly in certain things in a match that didn't go their way. Take Erling Haaland of Manchester City, for example. Now, Haaland does more dribbling and shooting without heading than Bierhoff did, but they are similar in that they can both be found in or near the penalty area and depend on proper passes and service from their teammates in order for them to have success. Consider a Champions League match between Manchester City and Real Madrid earlier this spring. It ended tied at 3 apiece, and it was an exciting and thrilling match. But TV commentator and former Real Madrid midfielder and Holland international Rafael van der Vaart had some harsh words to say about Haaland's performance, saying that he was quite useless in the match, and the author of the article, quoting van der Vaart, also described Haaland's performance as hardly involved. Haaland is one of those strikers who is more involved in the development of the team's offence than someone like Bierhoff was, but he is more likely to be in or around the penalty area and wait for crosses or through passes from midfielders and wingers to create his scoring opportunities. It is easy for these types of strikers to get lost in some games if they are not getting proper service from their wingers or midfielders, or if they are being well defended by the opponent. These types of strikers are becoming more and more extinct because in today's offensive tactics, forwards are asked to drop back more and help in the development of the offense. However, in the same breath, in today's game, more teams are also sitting back and parking the bus and waiting for the other team to attack and come forward. So it is more difficult for the attacking teams to string together a bunch of small passes and approach the opposition's goal, like the Spanish national team did during their heyday. A certain amount of aerial passing plays will become necessary, and a guy like Bierhoff would be very useful and valuable. With regards to Haaland, he is one of today's top strikers, and we will do another video dedicated to him at another time. Oliver Bierhoff was simply a goal-scoring machine in his prime, unlike few we have seen in the last 30 years or so. For a player who ended up having the career that he had, Bierhoff's production in his early years was, with all due respect, rather modest. Although he was blessed with an excellent height, an imposing physique, good strength, and an unparalleled aerial ability, he initially played for 3 of the smaller clubs in Germany and recorded only 10 goals in a little over 70 matches during a 4-year span. You would have never guessed that he would become the prolific scorer he became just a few years later. The fans and the media in Germany certainly didn't. Bierhoff himself said back then that he was jeered out of the Bundesliga. But then in 1990, he moved to Austria Salzburg in the Austrian Bundesliga, where his goal production and career really took off. Something clicked and he recorded 23 goals in 33 matches in his only season in Austria. His breakthrough season in Salzburg got the attention of the newly promoted Ascoli of Serie A in 1991. Although Ascoli would be relegated to Serie B in 1992, Bierhoff ended up spending 4 seasons there, amassing 48 goals during that span and establishing his aerial game there. Other clubs began to take note of his aerial prowess and decisiveness in the penalty area, and in 1995, Bierhoff secured a move to another Italian club, Udinese. It was here at Udinese where Bierhoff really became a star. He would spend 3 highly successful seasons here, chipping in with 57 goals during that time. He also forged a strong bond and relationship with the Italian coach Alberto Zaccheroni, who took him under his wings and relied on him heavily. In the 1997-1998 season, Udinese finished in 3rd place in Serie A, behind league champions Juventus and runner-up Inter Milan. Bierhoff was a huge contributor to their success, registering 27 goals in 32 Serie A appearances during the season. He was the capocannoniere, or the leading scorer of Serie A. In this day and age where players like Spanish wonderkid Lamine Yamal gets a national team debut handed to them as a 16-year-old, Bierhoff earned his first call-up to the German national team when he was almost 28, an extremely late international debut for a player of his caliber. He paid dividends almost immediately for the German Nationalmannschaft when he came on as a substitute and scored both goals in the Euro 1996 final against the Czech Republic to win Germany the tournament in dramatic fashion. It was a special and historical goal of sorts, as it was the first ever golden goal in football history. And although the goal itself was a bit of a blunder by the Czech goalkeeper, Bierhoff carved his name in the history books with his clutch goals. When Zaccheroni left Udinese to move to AC Milan in 1998, Bierhoff followed him and he spent 3 more successful seasons there. Zaccheroni and Bierhoff, along with midfielder Thomas Helveg, were brought in by Milan to rejuvenate a proud club who had finished a disappointing 10th place the season before. Bierhoff was signed to give a boost to the Milan offense, as striker Georges Weah had started to show signs of age, and the previous summer signing, Patrick Kluivert, had struggled in what would become his only season in Milan. In the 1998-1999 season, Bierhoff scored 19 goals as he helped Milan win the Scudetto. That indeed was a very formidable Milan team that boasted the likes of Paolo Maldini, Demetrio Albertini, and Leonardo. All in all, Bierhoff slotted home 36 goals in 91 matches for Milan and left the great Italian club after 3 seasons. He then spent a season at Monaco in France's Ligue 1 before returning to the Serie A one more time with Chievo Verona and retiring for good in 2003. He finished with a bang too, recording a hat-trick in a loss to Juventus in his last ever match. He retired having scored 102 goals in the Serie A, making him 23rd all-time in the list of all-time Serie A goalscorers.